Who sent you to the stream? The dog growled, its voice sounding like a human being. You know that this is our time, and humans are not allowed here. Emma was terrified, and she started crying and begging the dog to spare her life. Please don't harm me, she pleaded. I was sent to the stream by my stepmother to get water for her to use. I didn't come here on my own, I swear. But the dog was unforgiving, and it continued to bark and snarl at Emma. You should not have come here, it growled. Now, you will have to pay the price. I will invite all my fellow animals to come and feed on you. Emma broke down in uncontrollable tears, begging the dog to have mercy on her. Please don't harm me, she cried. I promise not to come again. I was just doing what my stepmother told me to do. Please forgive me. How it all started. John, a kind and hard-working man, lived in a small village with his beautiful wife, Sonia, and their only daughter, Emma. They were an average family, not too poor, but not too rich either. They managed to get by with what they had, and they were happy together. John, Sonia, and Emma did everything together as a family. They would cook meals together, go to the farm together, and spend quality time with each other. Emma, being the only child, was the center of their universe, and they loved her dearly. On school days, Emma would attend school, and John and Sonia would work on their farm or do other chores. Sonia was a wonderful mother and wife, always taking care of her family and making sure they were happy and healthy. She was a great cook, and her meals were always delicious. John and Emma loved her cooking, and they would often help her in the kitchen, but one day, disaster struck. Sonia fell sick, and she couldn't recover. Despite John's best efforts to take care of her, she passed away, leaving John and Emma heartbroken. The village was shocked by her sudden death, and everyone came to pay their respects to the grieving family. John was devastated by the loss of his wife. He had never felt such a deep pain before, and he didn't know how to cope with it. Emma, who was still young, was also struggling to come to terms with the loss of her mother. The village elder, a wise and kind man, came to visit John and Emma. He offered them words of comfort and advised John to stay strong for Emma's sake. He reminded John that he had to take care of Emma now, and that she needed him more than ever. As time passed, John and Emma started to heal. They still missed Sonia dearly, but they learned to live with the pain of her loss. John continued to work hard to provide for Emma, and he made sure to give her the best possible life. 3 years had passed since Sonia, John's wife and Emma's mother, had passed away. John had been taking care of Emma on his own, but he had come to realize that it was getting harder and harder to manage everything by himself. Emma was now 12 years old, and John felt that she needed a mother figure in her life. One day, John decided that he wanted to take another wife. He thought that it would be good for Emma to have a mother figure in her life, and also for himself, as he was getting older and needed someone to take care of him. He also wanted to have another child, so that Emma would have someone to play with. John thought about this for a while, and then he decided to talk to Emma about it. He called her into his bedroom and sat her down on the bed. Emma, my dear, I want to talk to you about something, John said, looking at his daughter with love in his eyes. You know how your mother passed away, and I've been taking care of you on my own? Well, I've been thinking, and I feel that it would be good for us to have another woman in the house. Someone who can take care of you, and cook for you, and take care of you when I'm not around. Emma looked at her father, unsure of what to say. She had never thought about her father getting married again, and she didn't know how she felt about it. But why, Papa? Emma asked, looking up at her father with big eyes. I don't want you to get married again. I like it just being us two. John smiled and hugged his daughter. I know, my dear, and I love just being with you too. But I'm only a man, and sometimes I have to go to work, and there will be no one to take care of you. And also, I want to have another child, so that you will have someone to play with. It will be good for us, I promise. Emma thought about this for a moment, and then she looked up at her father with a determined look on her face. I don't want you to get married again, Papa, Emma said, shaking her head. I don't want anyone to replace my mother. John was taken aback by Emma's words. He had expected her to be a little upset, but he hadn't expected her to refuse outright. Emma, my dear, I understand how you feel, John said, trying to reason with his daughter. But I promise you, this will be good for us. We will be happy together, and you will have a mother figure in your life again. Emma looked at her father, and then she started to cry. John hugged her tightly, trying to comfort her. It's okay, my dear, John said, stroking his daughter's hair. I understand how you feel. But please, just think about it, okay? It will be good for us, I promise, Emma nodded, still crying. And John hugged her again, but then, something unexpected happened. Emma looked up at her father, and she smiled. Okay, Papa, Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper. I'll think about it. But you have to promise me one thing. What's that, my dear? John asked, looking at his daughter with surprise. You have to promise me that you'll be happy, Emma said, looking up at her father with big eyes. And that you'll always love me, no matter what. John's heart melted at his daughter's words. He hugged her tightly, feeling a sense of joy and relief. I promise you, my dear, John said, his voice filled with emotion. I'll always love you, no matter what. And I'll be happy. I promise, Emma smiled, and John hugged her again. He knew that everything was going to be okay, and that they would be happy together, as a family. The next morning, Emma walked up to her father with a big smile on her face. Papa, I've been thinking, she said, and I think it's okay if you get another wife. I want you to be happy, and I know it will be good for us to have a mother figure in the house again. John's face lit up with joy. Really, Emma? You're okay with it? He asked, hugging his daughter tightly. Emma nodded, and John couldn't help but feel a sense of relief and happiness. He had been worried about how Emma would react to the idea of him getting remarried, but now he felt like a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. Not long after, John married a new wife named Sophia. Sophia seemed kind and gentle, and Emma was excited to have a new mother figure in her life. But behind closed doors, Sophia had a dark heart. She was manipulative and cunning, and she had a hidden agenda. As soon as Sophia got pregnant, she started using her pregnancy as an excuse to mistreat Emma. She would send Emma on unnecessary errands, and sometimes even stop her from going to school so that she could prepare meals. Emma, you're not a child anymore, Sophia would say. You're 12 years old, and it's time you started learning how to cook and take care of the house. You need to help me with the chores and prepare meals for your father and me. Emma would try to explain to Sophia that she had school to attend, but Sophia wouldn't listen. She would force Emma to do all the household chores. From cooking to cleaning to laundry. Emma would be exhausted by the end of the day, and she would often go to bed feeling sad and frustrated. As time went on, Emma became more and more miserable. She felt like she was losing her childhood, and she was being forced to grow up too quickly. She longed for the days when it was just her and her father, and she wished that Sophia would just leave her alone. Sometimes, Emma would try to muster up the courage to tell her father about the way Sophia was treating her. She would approach him, trying to find the right words to explain how Sophia was making her feel. But just as she was about to start talking, Sophia would interrupt them with something else. John, have you seen my favorite scarf? Sophia would say, or John, can you help me with this recipe? And John would turn his attention to Sophia, leaving Emma feeling frustrated and unheard. Emma would try to bring the conversation back to her own issues, but Sophia would always manage to steer the conversation in a different direction. And John, oblivious to the tension between Emma and Sophia, would just smile and nod, completely unaware of the drama that was unfolding. As the conversation would go on, Emma would start to feel a sense of desperation. She would try to catch her father's eye, to give him a sign that something was wrong, but she would just gaze at her with a blank expression, as if to say, "Don't say anything stupid, Emma." And so, Emma would leave the living room, feeling defeated and frustrated. She would go to her own room, slam the door shut, and burst into tears. "Oh, my mother, I really miss you," she would cry, sobbing uncontrollably. "Why did you have to leave me? I wish you were here to protect me from Sophia. She's so mean and cruel, and I don't know how much more I can take." As she cried, Emma would feel a deep sense of longing for her mother. She would remember the happy times they had together, the laughter and the adventures, and she would wish that her mother was still with her. "Why did you have to go, Mama?" Emma would cry, her voice shaking with emotion. "I need you now more than ever. Please, Mama, come back to me." But as the tears would dry on her face, Emma would realize that her mother was really gone, and that she was alone in this struggle. She would take a deep breath, wipe her tears away. The next day, very early in the morning, John went out for work as usual, leaving Emma and Sophia alone in the house. Emma was still sleeping in her bedroom, but Sophia had other plans. She went to Emma's bedroom, woke her up, and started shouting at her. "If you ever try to say anything stupid to your father about how I treat you, I will take your life that day," Sophia threatened, her voice loud and menacing. "You're a bitch, a bastard, a possessed daughter who took your mother's life. You killed your mother, and now you want to kill me too, in my pregnancy. I'm not going to let that happen." Emma was shocked and terrified by Sophia's outburst. No one has ever shouted at her in that way before. She started crying uncontrollably, begging Sophia to stop shouting at her, but Sophia was relentless. She continued to threaten and insult Emma, calling her all sorts of names and telling her that she was going to kill her if she ever told John about the way she was being treated. "You're just a useless, good-for-nothing girl," Sophia spat. "You're not even worthy of living in this house. But I'll let you stay, as long as you do exactly as I say. Now, get out of bed and go fetch water from the well. And after that, I want you to sweep the whole house, and make sure everything is spotless before you go to school today." Emma was shaking with fear as she got out of bed and started to do as Sophia had instructed. She was crying and trembling, but she knew that she had to obey Sophia if she wanted to avoid any more trouble. As she went to fetch water, Emma couldn't help but think about how much she hated Sophia. She wished that her father would come home and see how Sophia was treating her, but she knew that Sophia would just deny everything and pretend to be innocent. Emma felt like she was trapped in a living nightmare, with no escape from Sophia's cruelty and abuse. She just wanted to be free from Sophia's clutches, but she didn't know how to make that happen. One day, Sophia asked Emma to go to the stream in the village to fetch water for her. It was a hot afternoon, and Emma knew that nobody went to the stream at that time of day because of the many dangerous animals that visited the stream during that time. "Mother, I don't think it's a good idea to go to the stream now," Emma said, trying to reason with Sophia. "It's not safe. There are many animals that come to the stream in the afternoon, and they might harm me or even kill me." But Sophia was not interested in listening to Emma's concerns. She started shouting at her, her voice loud and menacing. "I don't care about the dangers, Emma. I want you to go to the stream and get me that water right now. I need it to make lunch. And I won't wait any longer than 5 minutes for you to return with it." Emma was shocked and scared by Sophia's outburst. She knew that Sophia was not concerned about her safety, and that she was only interested in getting what she wanted, no matter the cost. "But, Mother, please listen to me," Emma pleaded, trying to reason with Sophia. "It's not safe for me to go to the stream now. Can't I go later, when it's cooler and safer?" But Sophia was unmoved. She glared at Emma, her eyes cold and hard. No, Emma, you will go to the stream now, or you will face the consequences. I don't care if it's safe or not. I want that water, and I want it now. If you don't go, I will kill you. Do you understand? Emma was terrified. She knew that Sophia was capable of hurting her, and she didn't want to take any chances. She slowly got up, took a jerry can, and headed to the stream, shedding tears as she went. She was scared, but she knew that she had no other option. She had to get the water, no matter what. As she walked to the stream, Emma's heart was racing with fear. She knew that she was taking a risk by going to the stream at that time of day, but she had no choice. She was trapped, and she had to do what Sophia said, or face the consequences. As Emma reached the stream, she was met with an eerie and unsettling atmosphere. The air was dry and cold, and the only sound was the gentle flow of water over the rocks. But as she approached the stream, she heard the sound of animals making noise, and her heart began to racing with fear. She slowly reached out to get the water from the stream, but just as she did, a dog appeared out of nowhere and started barking loudly. The dog was massive and ferocious, and Emma could see the anger in its eyes. "Who sent you to the stream?" the dog growled, its voice sounding like a human being. "You know that this is our time, and humans are not allowed here." Emma was terrified, and she started crying and begging the dog to spare her life. "Please don't harm me," she pleaded. "I was sent to the stream by my stepmother to get water for her to use. I didn't come here on my own, I swear." But the dog was unforgiving, and it continued to bark and snarl at Emma. "You should not have come here," it growled. "Now, you will have to pay the price. I will invite all my fellow animals to come and feed on you." Emma broke down in uncontrollable tears, begging the dog to have mercy on her. "Please don't harm me," she cried. "I promise not to come again. I was just doing what my stepmother told me to do. Please forgive me." But the dog was relentless, and it continued to bark and snarl at Emma. It seemed to be enjoying her fear, and it was determined to make her suffer. As the dog continued to taunt and threaten Emma, she could hear the sound of other animals approaching. The dog was calling out to its fellow creatures, and they were all gathering around the stream, eager to feed on the young girl. Emma was paralyzed with fear, and she didn't know what to do. She was trapped, and she was at the mercy of the wild animals. She could only hope that somehow, someway, she would be able to escape. The dog looked at Emma with a sly grin. "You know, I'm going to give you something to take back to your stepmother. Something that she knows too well, but chose to ignore. Nobody visits the stream at this time of day, and she knows that. But she sent you anyway, didn't she?" Emma's eyes widened in fear. "Please, don't give me anything that will harm her. I don't want anything bad to happen to her." Despite everything, the dog chuckled. "Oh, don't worry, it's not going to harm her, at least, not directly. But it will teach her a lesson. You see, I'm going to give you a little something that will make her realize that she shouldn't have sent you to the stream at this time of day." Emma pleaded with the dog. "Please, don't do it. I don't want anything to happen to her. I still love her, despite everything she's done to me." The dog just barked and said, "Go and fetch the water, and then I'll give you what I have for your stepmother." Emma reluctantly went to fetch the water, her heart heavy with worry. When she finished, the dog approached her and dropped a golden necklace into her hands. "Take this," the dog said, "and give it to your stepmother." Emma took the necklace, feeling a sense of trepidation. As she walked home, she prayed that nothing bad would happen to her stepmother. Despite everything, she still loved her and didn't want her to come to harm. "Please, God," Emma prayed, "don't let anything bad happen to my stepmother. I know she's not been kind to me, but I still love her. Please, protect her from harm." As she walked, Emma couldn't help but wonder what the golden necklace meant, and what would happen when her stepmother saw it. She felt a sense of fear and uncertainty, but she knew that she had to face whatever came next. When she arrived home, Emma hesitated for a moment before entering the house. She knew that she had to give the necklace to her stepmother, but she was scared of what might happen. Emma stormed into the house, and Sophia was shocked to see her. She couldn't believe that Emma had gone to the stream at that time of day and still come back alive. "So, you came back alive," Sophia said, her voice laced with surprise and a hint of annoyance. "I didn't think you'd make it back." Emma looked at her stepmother, a mix of emotions on her face. "Do you wish me to die?" she asked, her voice trembling. Sophia waved her hand dismissively. "Never mind that. Where is the water that I sent you to get?" Emma pointed outside. "It's out there." Sophia looked at Emma's hand and saw the golden necklace on it. Her eyes widened in surprise, and she quickly grabbed the necklace from Emma. "Where did you get this from?" Sophia asked, her voice full of excitement. Emma shrugged. "I saw it at the stream and decided to pick it up." Sophia's eyes sparkled with greed as she looked at the necklace. She thought to herself, "This necklace is beautiful. I'm not going to give it back to her. It's mine now." She looked at Emma and said, "Go and wash the plates immediately." Emma ran out to the kitchen to wash the plates, and Sophia looked at the necklace again. She couldn't wait to wear it when her husband came home. She thought she would look beautiful and fit with the necklace on. She dropped the necklace on her bed and went about her daily chores, planning to wear the necklace later. But she had no idea that the necklace was something that would make her life miserable. As Sophia was busy with her chores, she couldn't stop thinking about the necklace. She felt like it was a treasure, and she was so happy to have it. But little did she know, the necklace was just the beginning of her troubles. Meanwhile, Emma was in the kitchen, washing the plates and thinking about the necklace. She had a feeling that something was off, but she couldn't quite put her finger on it. She just hoped that her stepmother wouldn't get into trouble because of the necklace. One sunny morning, Sophia's husband, John, was at home with no work to attend to. Sophia thought it was the perfect opportunity to wear the golden necklace and impress her husband. She took a bath, dressed up, and put on the necklace. As she came out to where John was sitting under a tree, she suddenly started shouting and crying. "I'm going to confess," she exclaimed, her voice echoing through the air. John was taken aback, shocked by her sudden outburst. "What are you confessing about?" he asked, looking at her with concern. Sophia was overcome with emotion, crying and shouting uncontrollably. Emma, who had been inside, came out to see what was happening and was shocked to see her stepmother in such a state. "I'm going to confess," Sophia repeated, roaming around the floor and crying. John tried to calm her down, asking her to please confess and get herself free. Sophia took a deep breath and began to speak, her words pouring out in a torrent. "I'm an evil woman," she said. "I've done all sorts of things. My husband, please forgive me. I've done all sorts of things to your daughter Emma when you're not at home. I've sent her to the river to fetch water at noon, where nobody is allowed to visit. I was surprised she came back alive. I've stopped her from schooling. Please forgive me." John was shocked, his eyes wide with horror. He looked at Sophia, then at Emma, who was standing there, watching the scene unfold. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Sophia, how could you?" he asked, his voice shaking with anger and disappointment. "How could you treat my daughter like that?" Sophia continued to cry and confess, telling John about all the cruel things she had done to Emma. John listened, his heart heavy with sorrow and regret. He had had no idea that Sophia was treating Emma so badly, and he felt guilty for not being there to protect his daughter. After Sophia finished her confession, the golden necklace on her neck suddenly disappeared, and she regained her composure. She looked around, confused, and asked her husband, "What did I say? Did I say anything?" John's face was red with anger, and he shouted at Sophia, "You are evil. You have been mistreating my daughter all this while. No wonder you never allowed me to be with her. Each time we sat together, you would bring up something to distract our discussion. You are such an evil woman." Sophia's eyes widened in shock, and she took a step back, as if she had been slapped. John then turned to Emma and asked, "Why haven't you been able to tell me about this? Why did you keep it a secret?" Emma looked down, tears streaming down her face. "I tried to tell you, Father, but she warned me never to say anything. She told me that if I said anything, she would hurt me. I was so scared, and I didn't know what to do." Sophia broke down in tears, wailing and begging for forgiveness. "I'm sorry, John. I'm sorry, Emma. I don't know what came over me. I was possessed by evil spirits, and I didn't know what I was doing." John's expression was stern, and he said, "You have been using your evil ways to manipulate me and control Emma. But today, the truth has come out. I'm glad that Emma is safe, and I thank God that she is not dead." Sophia continued to cry, begging for forgiveness. John looked at her with disgust and said, "I don't know if I can ever forgive you, Sophia. You have broken my trust, and you have hurt my daughter. I need time to think and to decide what to do next." As the scene unfolded, Emma felt a sense of relief wash over her. She was finally free from Sophia's evil grasp, and she could finally tell her father the truth. She hugged her father tightly, tears of joy streaming down her face. "Thank you, Father," she said. "Thank you for believing me. I'm so glad that the truth is out, and I'm finally free from her evil clutches." John hugged his daughter back, holding her tightly. "I'm sorry, Emma. I'm sorry that I didn't see what was happening sooner. But I promise you, I will do everything in my power to protect you and to make sure that you are safe." As they hugged, Sophia looked on, her eyes filled with tears and regret. She knew that she had lost everything: her husband's trust, her stepdaughter's respect, and her own dignity. She could only hope that one day, she would be able to make amends and start anew. A few days after Sophia's confession, she decided to try and make amends with John and Emma. She approached them one day in the sitting room, begging and crying, asking for their forgiveness. "Please, forgive me," she said, her voice shaking with emotion. "I was blinded by jealousy and the devil's influence. I didn't want Emma to take my place in your heart, John. I was afraid of losing you, and that's why I did all those terrible things." John looked at her, his expression stern. "You've been in this house, wasting my time and hurting my daughter. As long as you stay the way you want, you can pack your things and leave." But Emma, who had been watching the scene unfold, suddenly broke down in tears. "Father, please forgive her," she begged. "She doesn't know what she's doing. She's been wronging me, but I've decided to forgive her. I want us to be together, like we used to be. Please, forgive her and accept her back." John looked at his daughter, and his expression softened. He saw the sincerity in her eyes, and the love she still had for Sophia, despite everything. "Okay, Emma," he said. "I'll forgive her, for your sake. But Sophia, let me make one thing clear. If you ever hurt my daughter again, you'll be out of this house for good. Do you understand?" Sophia nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I understand, John. I promise I'll never hurt Emma again. I'll do everything in my power to make it right between us." John looked at Sophia, and then at Emma, and he saw the love and forgiveness in his daughter's eyes. He knew that he had to forgive Sophia, not just for Emma's sake, but for his own sake as well. "Okay, Sophia," he said. "I forgive you. Let's start anew, and work on rebuilding our relationship." Sophia broke down in tears, hugging John and Emma tightly. "Thank you, John. Thank you, Emma. I promise I'll never let you down again." As they hugged, John felt a sense of peace wash over him. He knew that forgiveness was not always easy,